Good morning, everybody. We are in Santa Rosa, California. We're at Autosport Detailing. We're here with Quinn. He's the owner of it. And we're going to do one of our Fresh Friday segments on this Ferrari F8.
Perfect candidate. Customer just drove it in the rain this morning, so it is dirty. Weather is going to change. He's going to want a clean car, and what better products to use than the Aenso line on a beautiful car.
Do we want to degrease the car pretty well on this one?
Yeah. I mean,
So
this would be a great candidate.
We can actually mix our time use in with it too.
Let's do it.
So if you want to kind of add some more cleaning power, so Polaris does have cleaning ability versus this, like a very clean, just shampoo that you wash the car with, it'll release.
So better maintenance,
Yep.
more.
So you actually don't need that much, by the way.
Oh, I was just about to ask you that.
Yeah. So
because I'm a full strength guy a lot of
you
times,
can,
but
it's unnecessary, right? You got to think of like a lot of brands
Yeah.
are going to come out there and be like, dude, just use this much product. Sometimes less is more.
I had this customer the other day just asking about it, and I'm like, oh, I just love all the soap and the bubbles and the foam.
It
But
is.
You're going to tell me we can thin it down. I'm into that.
You can thin it down a lot. So we're going to cut this down a lot more.
Saving money on soap right here.
But you want a good foam base, right?
Green.
Okay, we'll go with there,
So
right?
fair amount.
Yeah.
And then you want to add prime use
Yeah,
to this.
so this has some cleaning capabilities in it already, right?
Okay.
So it's going to do more than one shampoo does. It has agents in it that's going to help break up, emulsify the dirt. But since the car is actually, honestly, it's hard to see in the lighting, but it's actually pretty filthy.
Yeah.
We're going to put some prime use in it to help break down a lot more of that stuff. So we have our Animate Insect Remover. This product's actually really good at removing bugs.
Yeah.
California, you guys deal with it. I noticed even in the cold weather coming down from Oregon yesterday, the amount of bugs in my rental car was insane. You can spray it on. Cool thing is this has a super long dwell time. So I mean, like, as we're washing this car right now, we're gonna go hit the front end.
Re-spray it right out of the gate.
Yep, and literally we're gonna spray it on there, and we'll pre-soak this in Polaris mixed with prime use.
Yeah.
And then we'll rinse it all off. Hopefully it breaks out most of the intestines, the acidic parts of the bug, and then hand wash it.
So
But
before we start washing, we want to get off all the debris and contamination so
Yep.
we're not scratching the surface of this beautiful car.
Yep.
Totally
so
makes
especially
sense.
with bug stuff, you don't know what they've had in it,
Right,
and
yeah.
it's just horrible. So
What, before we get to that too, what do you think the ratio should be for prime use to our foam cannon with Polaris snow foam?
as I kind of said earlier, I'm never going to be that guy that says, hey, you have to use this much, right? How much cleaning power do we want out of this?
Yeah.
Prime use theoretically can be diluted. Let's say it's like an APC for the exterior. It'll help break up a lot of the solvents, dirts on the car, not solvents, contamination.
Yeah.
And you can go as strong as you want. This car is filthy. It probably has a good layer of stuff on it.
Sure.
But we probably don't need a heavy amount.
So, like, is it-
Throw in that much of it? Not much, but it's gonna. Polaris already has some cleaning abilities in it. You can do a little bit more, right? And then we'll mix it with warm water in the foam cannon at that point, and we'll have our cleaning agent to kind of pre-soak the car itself.
So by proper metrics, these products actually go a really long ways if you dilute
Yep.
them properly.
Yep. So
Because
like
cleaning-
prime use, we can use this pure straight. Like if we were just sitting here washing a car by ourselves in the driveway, you didn't have a foam cannon, you could put a trigger spray on that, spray it on your like impact areas of your car, your wheel wells. You can use it straight. Straight's gonna be awesome.
So winter driving, this is a great example, is you get all this filth that's kicked up off of the tires.
Especially like the back end with that
Yes.
soft stuff.
Yeah.
It's gonna help break off that stuff like
So just like Animate on the front, we can use prime use around the back.
exactly. And we can use it on the front too. It's not gonna hurt if Animate and Prime Use touch each other, or if we mix it with Polaris. We can hit a lot of things. Prime Use is so universal in the fact that we can use it on the paint. We could use it on the tires if you really wanted to. You could use it to clean the wheels if you wanted to. And
Door jams.
yeah, anything you want to do on that stuff,
Yeah.
it is universal in that sense
And
to be used.
coating safe, people always want to know this.
Yeah.
Maybe the car's coated, maybe it's not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when we kind of debuted this product to our installer network for the Modessa guys, we were at a PlusCon in Salt Lake City. So this was probably February 2017. We had a Tesla Model S come in. It was jet black. It was coated with BCO4. It was snowing that day. Salt Lake had all the brine juice and the salt on the car.
Yeah.
The car actually came in. It was super dirty, and you could see the dry lines of the salt and everything. So we sprayed it on the door, let it sit there for a few minutes, power rinsed it off. Like an idiot, one of our installers went up and did the finger thing, see how much dirt came up. But, and I'm not saying it's going to come out perfect. Nothing came up on his hands.
Yeah.
Prime Use actually helps break off a lot of that stuff before you even put a wash on.
And because I've been there, I know people in California have no idea what a real dirty car is.
Yeah.
But driving through Salt Lake in the wintertime, destroyed.
Oh, it's bad. You
Yeah.
go 2 miles, your car's dirty.
ruined.
So
So that's
well,
even more reason to coat your car to protect against the weather, right?
even
That's
this
the
one, you
idea.
said this car just came in today. It was raining a little bit this morning.
Yeah.
It's already filthy because the amount of contamination, pollution on the road.
Totally.
You never know what's kicking up from the tires, the exhaust, and all.
Well, yeah, he's probably driven it around on some nice fall days and it got dust on it. And now it's rained on
Yep.
top of the dust.
And
It's got
solidifying and building layers of
Yeah.
it. Yep.
So we can get it off without ruining anything, softly, gently, without
Yeah.
destroying the finish.
So what I'll do is, do you want to fill this up with
Yeah.
water? And I'm going to go ahead and hit animate on the front end. We don't have a lot of bugs on it, but there are some I noticed. The problem is it doesn't have that flat fascia where we see everything, but we do have a lot kind of sitting in here. The reality truth is we don't know how long these bugs have been on here, do we?
It could have been weeks.
Yeah, the other thing too is this has front end paint protection film. So really our only choice, unless you were to redo the film, is contamination or decontamination through a chemical process.
Yep.
So the cool thing is animate kind of froths up on it. So when it froths up, the beauty of it, it clings to that surface instead of something like really thin viscosity that's going to drip. It's going to allow it to actually work on this stuff and sit in there and break it up. So when we do wash it or we do agitate it a little bit, it'll break it up. But it's actually everywhere. The collection we have, we don't know what film's on it, how long it's been on there, how, you know, it's an F8, so it's a newer car. It's probably like most of these companies' 3rd gen film. But we had some big stuff. You can see it up here, a big etch right there on
So
bug.
really good working time, also thick and clinging. It's not running right off the car.
Well, and that's the beauty of it. Like, you know, watch this in a few minutes. It's going to stay in that same way. We could saturate this area a lot more. And it's so thick with the trigger that it's just going to sit there and allow the actual product to work.
There's that smell again.
It's not bad.
I think it smells amazing. It's one of my favorite, actually. So also too, we're luckily covered inside this in the sun.
It's not bad in the sun, but you always want to be careful. You don't know how intensive those rays are, right?
Sure.
So I always recommend washing your car, no matter what the situation, in shaded.
Yep.
You know, cool environment's going to be different. If you're in Phoenix, Arizona,
Yeah.
it's 120 degrees. That dry air is going to pull and dry things out faster. That maybe there is an urgency versus today we have a little bit of humidity in the air. It's wet and damp. We're in a cool area and covered. We have, I mean, I've seen this stuff work up for 15 minutes. Zero issue.
Really good.
So
So we always tell people early morning, in the evening, cool to the touch. The
Yep.
paint is cool. But for some of the home users in a pinch, maybe you got back from a road trip, it's hot out and you want to get the bugs off, maybe you can do it real quick, just
Yep.
work efficiently.
Yep.
So iCern, we're gonna use this as a wheel cleaner. These have some kind of gnarly stuff on here. Brake dust and who knows what else.
The other solution you have is you have water in the bucket for your wheel stuff.
I do, yeah.
So you can mix some shampoo in it too if you wanted to. In fact, like, I don't measure things out, but like I don't need a lot for the wheels. Just to build some lubrication up behind it, you can hit it with a pressure washer.
Yep.
Just kind of foam it up and build it up real quick.
Yeah.
With iCern, we can spray directly on the wheels. Even with the carbon ceramic, it's not going to affect it.
No problem.
Right? Biggest thing with carbon ceramics, any wheels you do in general, make sure that wheel is cool to a touch. You don't want to warp your rotor, damage the brakes. So if you've been out for like a good spirited drive, especially through the canyon roads here, any consumer, any end user of the product, just make sure that wheel is cool to a touch. So what's cool about iCern, just like you saw with Animate, it clings to the surface itself, right? So if you were to pull back this trigger, just kind of show you real quick, it'll foam up a little bit more, right? So you can spray it and it'll cling on it. It has a good work time. Part of like the development of a product is everything's gonna drip. Now, the only side effect you won't see with this wheel as much as others is it's carbon ceramic, so we don't have a lot of iron deposits on it. We're not gonna see that purple effect as much, right? Because we're only seeing it from the actual brake pad wear itself. So the good part, carbon ceramics usually are pretty clean. Most of the contamination on this wheel is literally from just the road and a little bit of the brake pad. You do see a little bit of the reaction from the acid in the wheel cleaner, turning purple. What that's gonna do is break the iron deposits out from the wheel, separate them. It's gonna react with it. That's why you're getting that like kind of violet purple look to it. And
Yeah,
then
you can see a little bit starting to drip.
yeah, just from where it like breaks in there, it's not a lot. Other wheels, you know, if you get your daily driver with iron wheels like Mercedes or Audis, you know, they're notorious for really kicked on dust. It's gonna show it, I mean, 100-fold more than what it is. But
And this is a car I wouldn't expect to have. I mean, I think this is his like cruiser.
Yep.
He's not tracking the car, you know, probably not super dirty to start with, but even so, regular dirt and grime, it's
Yeah,
definitely
it's going to help break it up. So like at this point, the product's already doing its work. We can start agitating the wheel and breaking it apart. So while you're doing that one, you want me to go ahead and do the back one?
Yeah, go for
All
it.
right, cool.
And I really like this small detail brush to get in some of these really tight nooks and crannies around the caliper. I think that works really well. And then I'll use a bigger one, the blade. We're getting deep inside of the barrel. I actually do like the soap in the bucket too. I like that this is giving me a soaping, foaming effect. I dig that.
I have a weird thing where I always like to put soap in my wash bucket because even wheels, like if I'm doing a maintenance wash, you don't necessarily need ice-on. If you're washing your car every week to 2 weeks and you're not driving it a lot, it's probably unnecessary that just one shampoo or Polaris in the wash bucket's more than enough cleaning agent to do the job of what you need.
Yeah, frequency is a big part
Yep.
of it.
All right, so what are the tools we have for the faces?
I like to get after this for the lug nuts. That's what I
Yep.
finished on the other one. Now, everybody has preference here. I actually, for the faces, like to use a wash pad at some point. I like to even get, so you can really get that next level of behind, also around backside. Another thing that I like to do too is we'll do this once and then we'll move the car a couple feet.
Yeah, so you can
do
get
the
the
wheels
underside.
again.
Well, it also helps with like with the calipers if you can't reach the tool behind it.
Perfect example. I mean,
Yeah,
I
your front
think
ones are pretty tight.
They're super tight.
Yeah, the back ones, it's got easy access too. Yeah, no, so Revolve, it's a good tire cleaner. Everybody always kind of forgets, at least the consumer base, like cleaning your tires, especially these Michelins, they have like a weird felt feel on it. As tires collect so much dirt and contamination that it helps break everything off.
Yep.
So at least when you're applying that tire shine, it's a clean layer. You don't have all this gunk building up. It'll fling all over the car.
So huge pet peeve, right? Dressing over dirty tires.
Yep.
You get layers of dirt and dressing and dirt and dressing, and all of a sudden that you can't even see the letters anymore.
No, but it also just starts to look uneven and
Totally.
kind of like you'll get this area. You can see how like this isn't. It's just an example like where you'll see these spotches of just like higher sheen versus darker.
Totally.
I absolutely loathe those areas.
Yeah. So how is this as far as saturation? Does that seem
That's good. Yeah.
amount?
Yep,
Okay.
and then just
so we use very little. I mean,
you don't need a lot.
I've done 3 laps. I mean, it probably only needed 1 or 2.
Like the only time you're probably going to use a lot is like an off-road vehicle with like a big knobby tire where it's had a lot of dirt. Like if you go out to the dunes or you're out like off-roading.
dwell time here important, or pretty much spray on and start
Spray on the
activating?
dirt scrubbing.
So thing again, always trying to get the bottom as I get sprayed in the face. Try to get
Yeah.
the bottom of the tire, even though we're going to move it. And then the other thing is around the bead in the lip. I feel like that's a neglected area. So I like to use the brush to kind of cut in that spot. What about the inner fender liner? This is always an area that's very dirty.
So that's where we'll bring in some primees for those after. Do that again.
Look at all the dirt and grime we have inside of here. So imagine there's a certain amount of this on the body of the car.
So
That's
do
why
you have a
these
good
steps
brush
are-
we can break up the wheel? Let's go ahead and clean this one up right now.
Yeah.
Let's do the tire first, because what we'll do is we'll pressure rinse this one off real quick. So you can see like when you're using Revolve, tire's really dirty. It's kind of browning it, turning all this grime and stuff off. So it's kind of nice that having a clean tire canvas for tire shine is always, I always think, critical. All right, so what brush should we use out of your setup here to hit the wheel wells?
Well, I like to use one of these guys when I have the clearances available.
Yeah, this one we're not going to be able to probably fit it in that well. We can use this brush actually pretty well. So everybody saw Quinn's hands after we hit it. So
What product are you using for this?
we're using our prime use pre-washed degreaser on this one. So with the amount of filth that you saw build on his hand from this stuff right here, we're gonna use a combination of brushes to really clean this plastic, break up the dirt so it's nice, clean, gives you that OEM satin finish where it's just, you can touch it and you're not picking up all this stuff on it. Oh, there we go, we got the big one.
You mentioned these brushes and the tip being a factor. This would be probably a good application to use this brush for here
Yep.
instead of in the wheels anymore.
Yeah, break this up because it'll fit.
Yep.
So we'll load this up.
Ask and you shall receive.
All right, well,
So prime use to action, gonna go around and just hit these lower panels, especially like an area that gets neglected all the time. I feel like down low, and this is a place where you can pick up, I mean, look at this is a rock right here, you guys. If I'm washing this car and I don't get this off beforehand, and I get this piece of gravel in my wash mitt, what's that gonna do to the finish of the car?
oh yeah.
Coating, PPF or not, you've got an issue.
Yep.
So wanna make sure we get that hit really good.
And what product is that?
This is the Prime pre-degreaser. So basically what he's doing, all the heavy impact areas. So like when you're driving, all that debris kicking down to the wheel like this, you're having kick up from the wheel down to here. And in the back, what you're getting is like that vortex of wind kicking up. So all this sediment is just built up on the back bumper. So he's hitting these heavy areas from the undercarriage, like rocker panels right there where it's painted, to all the impact areas on the side and rear. We already did animate on the front to break it up, but it's just gonna really help break up any sediment, especially for this Ferrari Corsa Red. You don't wanna damage this paint. You know, it's already clean. At this point, the goal is to preserve and protect it, right?
Totally.
So,
And every car design is different. Corvettes, for example, there's a rock catcher that's similar to this. It's down lower, and I've
Yep.
pulled out like 8-inch rock.
oh yeah, especially a lot of them have like the brake ducts now that they just collect stuff
Yeah.
in them nonstop. So,
The more that we can get out before we touch it, the better. So we're gonna get the back, like you mentioned, the wind foil. This is just a magnet for dirt and grime.
it's like when you guys are prepping a car at the shop, you're gonna go through with a usage of prime use here, rinse it, then hit it with the foam cannon, break more excess off,
Yeah.
rinse that off, go through your 2-bucket wash method, right? So
Totally.
you guys are going to that meticulous, what your customers are paying for. details, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And on a consumer end, by the way, it's like you don't have to do this process. If you're maintaining your car, this might not be necessary, but in the case of like this customer's coming into Quinn, he's looking for the best service, which is what they offer here.
Yep.
And they're going to take every essential step, but they're also effective at it. It's not time consuming to make sure they're actually giving the customer what they pay for too.
Totally.
Cool.
And if we do, get a rock and we do put a mark in it, we are going to see it and we're gonna have to fix it. So
You
essentially,
take accountabilities. For
yeah,
everything you do.
we're gonna make our life a lot easier by taking a little bit extra time here instead of having to correct it later.
Cool.
I also noticed, this is an area for dirt and
Oh yeah,
grime.
the dirt. You can see it here. Like, look at
Yeah,
this one.
sediment.
And even here, you can see the amount of dirt that just builds up in that line from the taillight area. So,
And again, every car is unique. You know your car. It's our job to try to figure out every car, which is really tough to do. But where the crevices, where the dirt and grime hides, and what's the best way to take care of it. So I like the application of this for that. And then now we're gonna go ahead and rinse it off. And so we just finished up all of our pre-wash. We've got wheels and tires are scrubbed, fender wells are scrubbed. We used the prime use on all the lower panels. Feel pretty good about the amount of dirt and grime we got off. I think we're ready for the foam cannon. This is one of my favorite parts. I wish we had these 30 years ago. Just makes life more fun and more enjoyable. Again, the smell, it's incredible.
but you notice we diluted it a lot less, right?
We did, and actually it's plenty of soap for it.
It's plenty of soap, but what you see immediately happening, it's cleaning the surface, but it's pulling contamination down.
Yeah, yep,
So-
gravity. So what do we think about dwell time with our soap, Polaris Snow Foam, and our Prime Use mixture? Which, by the way, your recommendation on the mixture, it's working great.
I love it. Like I said, some people get overcarried. They want to use more. Sometimes I like it. Dwell time, honestly, you can start rinsing now.
Okay.
So this is kind of the critical part of maintaining a car, kind of keeping aesthetically it not screwed up. To reduce marring, risking, we have our 5-gallon buckets here typical grit guards. There's a lot of them out in the industry. You know, something that just traps encapsulate dirt. And we have one bucket that'll be our soap, which is this one, I'm assuming. This will be the clean water, or vice versa.
Yeah, I'm a left to right guy. So we're gonna go fresh water, we're gonna go soap,
Cool.
and we're gonna go one or?
Yeah,
Yep.
we'll do one shampoo.
Sweet.
Now you could, and just like with players, if you really wanted to up the cleaning power of it, you can mix some prime use into it, things like that. I think we're already good on that. We don't need it. So measurement wise, you know, per instruction, it's going to tell you 3 to 4 milliliters. It's not that much you have to use. I'm one of those guys, like I said, I'm OCD and type A to a degree, but I hate measuring things out, like pouring it into the cap. So this is our soap bucket, right?
Let's do it that way, yeah.
So like literally, you don't need that much. It's a very thick, concentrated shampoo. Just a little bit in there, right for what we need. Good cleaning power.
Yeah, that's amazing because my instinct is like half.
Oh, sometimes at home, I will sit there because, you know, once you don't have the bubbles, it just starts pouring. I don't even care. But in the sense, like, I don't like people wasting products, especially consumers. They don't realize sometimes less is more in that aspect.
Well,
they
maybe
don't need to be buying a lot and wasting it.
Totally, but maybe we're also used to like other brands of products that are diluted, over-diluted, so we're overusing to compensate for the lack of a cleaning.
I used to go to like Track Auto and just buy like the McGuire's Gold Class, and I would just chug it
A
into
whole
the
bottle.
Yeah,
because you needed that much for it to work.
All right. So we got the soap bucket on the far here, so we'll foam it up. So yeah, that's a key thing too, is if you have a pressure washer, it's gonna foam up the stuff. It's already kind of froth it up a little bit, but it's gonna help mix up the soap a little bit. So like in this case, just kind of mix up the soap. We're ready to start. All right, so this is our foam bucket. So you have 3 wash meshes. Do you basically use one for like upper, lowers, and so forth?
So I personally like 2 on the car. I sacrificed one of them for the wheels.
Yep.
We don't want to use the wheel mitt back on the body of the car. We have 3 brand new mitts here. Probably grab another one if you're a 2 mitt guy. I like 2 personally.
Yeah, I always like 2. So I have like these ones I like because you can at least remember the side. I'll use one side for the upper panels, one for the lower panels, and so forth. I actually kind of like these because it goes a little thin.
Yep.
But we'll start with the top and work our way south down to the bottom.
Yep.
All right. I'm one of those people, I hate wringing out. I love it loaded with soaps and suds.
Same.
So one thing I am like with washing a car, I'm one of those guys, I'll never force it. Like I see so many people like pushing it into it, just 50% overlap pass, and just let the weight of the actual towel or the microfiber do the work.
Now's about the time I'm gonna go back to my rinsing buckets before I get to the next panels. Rinse this out in this nice sudsy bucket. I like to, after I get the rear bumper, then go do the very, very lower
parts of the rockers and doors.
Yep.
Yep. It's amazing how, like, when you pre-clean a car, pre-rinse it, how well it works. Like, the contamination is just non-existent.
Yeah, great point. These mitts look virtually brand new.
Yeah.
So
no contamination buildup on it.
proper rinse.
But this is like the process, like, people have to understand, like, if you want to maintain a finish that after the car has been corrected and coated it's not a lot of work to remember or like to actually do it. It's just knowing the process of what you have to do. And what you said before is, as business owners, we have to learn every car and like what the process is. Consumers know it better. They know, like, after a while where water drips out of the car when they're drying it and stuff like that. It's that meticulous process, but once you understand it, it's really easy.
Totally.
Okay. Should be everything. All right, so
Good
let's
to
go
go.
and rinse all the soap off.
Do you prefer clay bar actual or the clay pads? Does I go back and forth?
That's up to you. We can do it with both.
Yeah. So the pads are nice because they're hand big.
Yeah, the pads, I feel like pads are good for like real quick wiping it down,
Clean.
but I also just love clay bars because I feel like they take so much more off.
I definitely
they damage
think-
a lot less.
You think the clay bar does?
I do. I think if you use a nice medium clay bar and...
Well, let's try it out. We'll do both.
Yeah. Honestly, this will be perfect.
You like that?
Yep. All right, so we finished our wash process on the car. We're gonna throw some protection on it for the weekend, just in case it gets caught in some rain. The car already has something on it from the dealer. It's probably trash at this point. We'll do it on the wheels anyways too. But as far as just application of Aquila, it's a pretty simple process. You just spray it on.
Light mist.
Yeah, you can just spread it like this, and like the lower panels. Hit it with the pressure wash real quick so we can see the water behavior. Nothing, right? Dead. So, now obviously we're gonna end up using more on this because intricate parts of the wheel, it's harder to get to. So go ahead and rinse off the door. We saw the water behavior dead here. It's gonna add a protection value to the vehicle. It's also gonna make it hydrophobic where the water rolls off easier, makes it easier to dry. But rinse off that door. And then the wheel, right? We saw the wheel before.
So immediately it's acting like we've coated the wheel or polished it at least, or put some kind of sealant on there.
And it does. It's a wet coat applicator, which is convenient because most of us are used to taking like a quick detailer with just nothing wrong with it. You'd have to dry the car, wipe it on, wipe it off. A lot of the products are smeary, hard to fight. You know, this one you do want to make sure you're using it in cool shaded area, not in direct sunlight, because sometimes it will dry too quick if you're in like the Arizona summer heat or Florida. But I mean, it's literally just a mist. And as you're rinsing it, it's gonna break it down. It's gonna add just a little bit of a layer of protection that'll last a month or two, maybe a little bit more depending on your environment. But it's gonna give it a little bit of gloss and depth to it. It's gonna protect the paint. In this case, it's gonna make the wheels easier to maintain. Like when you have a wheel that doesn't have any protection value and you have brake dust building on it, there's so much more scrubbing versus if he goes out on a few day drive right now, chances are you could probably just pressure rinse the wheels if you want to get it semi-clean, just to be like, all right, I don't have time, want to make it easy to clean. You can still use it on even like matte surfaces, right? So at that point, then you can rinse it off. It's going to make that matte surface a lot easier to clean, right?
So we can mist the whole entire thing, rinse
Yep.
it off, dry it as normal, done.
Yep. You can start rinsing behind me if you want to.
That fast, it doesn't need to sit very long.
Nope. Use air or just towel for everything?
So yeah, what I like to do is I'll blaze over it first with the towel,
Just to sop everything up?
and then I'll come back with, we have two of the dryers out here that we'll use
Okay.
for all the cracks and crevices.
Okay. You want me to grab a towel and help you?
Yeah, go for it if you don't mind.
All right, guys, so we've gotten the whole entire car cleaned up, washed, dried. We're gonna do a few touch-ups with quick detailer in a second here. But what we're gonna do first is the glass. This one's pretty dirty. It's got some dirt, debris, water spotting on the inside and outside. We're gonna use our Pure View glass cleaner, and we have two glass towels. So typically to start this off, everybody does windows a little bit differently, so there's no wrong or right way, to say the least. I'm gonna kind of saturate and prime this one. This is gonna help me pick up a vast majority of the outside. I like starting with the inside itself. I don't know if you wanna kind of, yeah, so you can kind of see, I always like doing the inside window and this outside edge here. Like I said, everybody's a little bit different. This is gonna help me get that outside edge. And so then I'll take my second towel. And if you want to make sure you don't if you don't know where your streaks are coming from, usually you can work this way on the inside and then go up and down from the outside. So if you do have streaking or anything unusual, you can trace it to where it is on a piece of glass. Now, this window, it's a frameless window. It goes up and down. So what I'm gonna do is, actually real quick,
Looks good.
now the reason I did the
Sweet.
inside first is because we have moisture from the seal. It's gonna kick up here, so we wanna make sure that we do the inside first on this. Now on this one, like I said, we're gonna work in the opposite pattern. You know, if you need to get up against the seal, you can go to it. And then so the cool thing about Peer View, it has a little bit of slickness to it. I'm not gonna say it's like protection wise, but when you're wiping glass, sometimes it's a little bit harder to tracing. So like I have a little bit of a water drip here. It's not moving from the inside. I know that's coming from the inside, so I'll have to go back, touch up the inside. Sometimes, like I said, when you have streaking, if I'm moving left to right and I do the inside that way, I can see the streaking. So I'll know go back on the inside. This is technically a drip mark from maybe water's coming through the seal right there a little bit, but I'll go through and touch that up. But to a touch with the towel, the glass will be a little bit slicker after Peer View. It's gonna clean it. It'll help remove smoker's haze from the inside of the window, contamination from the outside, water that maybe kicks up as you're drying it. But simple wipe on, wipe off, and then just knock out all the glass.
About
And
to
you're
start doing the
crystal clear, see the road.
Perfect. You think it should be exhausting out or blowing in?
Actually, grab this car though. Chips everything on it, man.
Now we want to focus on the wheels and tires. I like to do this before we do the paint, just in case we get any overspray on the body in doing our tire treatment. We're using Orbit, great product. I like the brush method. You guys can do this however you want. You can also use the sponge. Different applications, bigger tire, off-road tire, definitely brush. Maybe a smaller tire, pad applicator is good. We're gonna spray a little bit on the tire. I hit the bottom because I want to get that rollout of the tire. Gonna spray on the top as well. And then I'm gonna season my applicating brush. And I'm just gonna brush this around the tire. These flag nylon brushes are really good at getting all the way around. And just like we did in the wash bay where we prepped it with the brush, cleaning brush, and we got that rim protector lip, we're gonna do the same thing here. So we got pretty good coverage around. I'm gonna let that sit for a second, and I'm gonna move on to the wheel. We're gonna use Gleam. This is a quick detailer. Paint, wheels, jams, a lot of applications. You can spray this directly into your towel. You can probably do a light mist right onto the wheel. In this scenario, I'm gonna do a light mist onto the wheel. And I'm gonna come back with this towel and just start getting in all those cracks and crevices, getting it wiped down. This is gonna add even a little bit more protection, gloss, shine. Also, it's giving me a chance to go back around and get some of that Orbit that may have got on the tire during my application. I like the way that works too. It's got some chips. Not much we're gonna do about that today. It's the owner that actually drives this car, which is nice. I don't know if you're catching it, but there was actually some staining that didn't come off in the wash process that the Gleam just took right off. And, you know, also always want to get inside as much as you can. We did a great job in the wash bay. I feel like the barrels are pretty good for us to hit the streets, but I want to make sure to get all this area really good with some of those deep cracks and crevices. And this was my wet towel. I'm gonna put that aside and I'm gonna come back with my buff towel and I'm gonna just buff off any bit of the last. And I could feel how slick this instantly is. I mean, it feels like we've done some substantial treatments to it. Super fast. Looks really good. Now, another little step. This is up to the discretion of the user, how much shine and gloss that you want on your tires. Personally, I like a natural clean tire, a little bit less gloss. So I'm gonna go around and just kind of buff this out a little bit, because I kind of like that natural look personally. I think that's just right. It's the look that we're going for.
All right, guys, so we finished up our wash process. Quinn's dressing the tires right now, touching up the wheels for anything that maybe we've missed. Every once in a while when you wash your car, maybe you got a little streak from wash, shampoo residue you didn't wash off enough, or maybe a little dripping of water and it dries up. So we're gonna take our simple quick detailer. It's exactly what it is, simple. You're gonna spray it onto the panel, wipe it in, turn over your towel to the dry side or take another towel and then just level it off. So not a lot of product needs to be used. You're just gonna spread it on the surface, flip over your towel and just buff it off. And that's it.